The largest stone circle on Earth sits at exactly 4/7 of the arc distance between the equator and the North Pole. Not approximately. The line of latitude runs through the center of Avebury. The Great Pyramid at Giza, 4,000 kilometers away, has a base circumference that encodes the same mathematical constant. Stonehenge, built by different people in a different millennium, uses the same number in its earliest and most mysterious feature. 3 of the oldest monuments on Earth share a mathematical framework that none of them should have in common. The framework is a division of the globe into 56 intervals, 14 latitudes from equator to pole, repeated 4 times around the full circumference. The proposal comes from the researcher Matt, whose Apocalypse series synthesized the pattern from earlier work. The number is not arbitrary. If you use the ancient approximation of pi, 22/7, which is documented in Egyptian, Greek, and Indian mathematics, and multiply it by 56, you get 176. A circle of 176 units divides into radians and quarter circles without producing irrational numbers. A circle of 360 degrees does not. The argument is that prehistoric surveyors could not work with irrational numbers. They needed systems that resolved to whole numbers. A 56-base division of the globe does this. The Great Pyramid at Giza has a base circumference of 1,760 Royal Egyptian cubits. Flinders Petrie measured this in the 1880s, and the figure has been confirmed by subsequent surveys. 1,760 is 176 multiplied by 10, a scaling factor, the same fraction, encoded in stone at the most precisely surveyed monument on Earth. Several researchers have separately argued that the pyramid's geometry encodes a 1 to 43,200 scale model of Earth's northern hemisphere, a claim consistent with the Cubit encoded fraction. Stonehenge encodes the same number. The earliest phase, built during the Neolithic before any of the famous stones were erected, consisted of 56 wooden posts arranged in a circle. These are the Aubrey Holes, named after the antiquarian who first identified them. The inner circumference of the innermost earth bank measures 560 Royal Egyptian cubits. This assumes a shared unit of measurement between cultures with no documented contact, an assumption that has never been proven. But the numbers are the numbers. 2 sites separated by 3,500 kilometers, built by different peoples at different times, both encoding 56. If this were simply a mathematical curiosity, an interesting pattern with no function, it would belong in the realm of numerology. But a 56-interval grid of the globe is not decorative. It is a coordinate system. A shared geodetic framework would allow distant cultures to fix positions, plan routes, and communicate locations using a common reference. The question is not whether ancient people needed such a system. Anyone navigating, trading, or settling across large distances did. The question is whether they had the tools to build one. The tools required for latitude were within reach. The zenith measurement, the observation of the sun directly overhead, can be made anywhere within the tropics twice per year. By measuring the shadow angle at a distant site during this moment, the arc distance between 2 points can be calculated with precision. Eratosthenes used this exact method more than 2,000 years ago to calculate the circumference of the Earth. The tools required are a vertical rod and a flat surface. Longitude is harder. The only prehistoric method capable of the precision this hypothesis requires is observation of the moon, specifically the 18.6-year cycle by which the moon's orbital tilt completes one wobble against the fixed stars. Several megalithic sites appear to be aligned to track exactly this phenomenon, but the observation is slow and the calibration uncertain, and no longitudinal measurement method has been confirmed in the archaeological record to the accuracy the system claims. Where the longitudinal accuracy fails, the alternative is direct land survey along anchor lines, meridians fixed at 1 radian intervals from each other. 5 anchor meridians appear in the data. The primary meridian runs between Lake Manicouagan in Canada, one of the largest ring-shaped impact structures on the planet, and Tiwanaku in Bolivia, the high-altitude pre-Columbian site beside Lake Titicaca, the largest lake in South America. The secondary meridian sits exactly 1 radian east at the Richat structure in Mauritania, the massive concentric formation in the Western Sahara, the second largest ring-shaped structure on the planet. The tertiary meridian, 1 radian further east, runs through the ziggurat of Ur in southern Iraq, paired with the dried lake bed in the Rub al-Khali desert that drained roughly 5,000 years ago. The quaternary meridian runs through the Temple of Akyum at the Angkor complex in Cambodia, beside the largest hand-cut reservoir in recorded history, sharing a longitude with Tonle Sap, the largest lake in Southeast Asia. The 5th and final meridian is offset. Australia's eastern coast falls within 1 radian of Akyum, so the marker is the rock monolith of Uluru, placed at 1 radian minus 30 degrees from the prior meridian. Where nature placed a major lake or ring-shaped formation, the meridian uses it. Where nature placed no marker, a man-made structure was built. Latitudinal alignments are easier to verify. The axis through Stonehenge, Avebury, and the Ring of Brodgar in northern Scotland, the third largest stone circle in Britain, extends south through the tropics into Ouida, Benin, and the Python Temple, the most sacred site of the Vodun tradition, whose roots extend 6,000 to 8,000 years into the past. The Python Temple sits at precisely 1/56th north of the equator. When the sun is directly overhead at the Python Temple, a gnomon at Avebury casts the shadow at exactly 45 degrees. The arc length equals the height of the rod. The Python Temple is precisely 45 degrees from Avebury Stone Circle, and it is precisely 36 degrees from Giza, two of the most important monuments in the ancient world, geodetically linked through the same tropical reference point. Stanton Drew, the second largest stone circle in Britain, lies on the same Stonehenge to Python alignment axis. Two of the three largest stone circles in Britain placed on a single great circle line that terminates at the Vodun Anchor in West Africa. Stonehenge sits 56 degrees from the Python Temple, the same number encoded in its Aubrey Holes, in its earth bank circumference, and now in its arc distance from the site that anchors its alignment axis. The system extends east. Borobudur, on the island of Java, sits at 1/56th east of Akyum. When measured on Google Earth, the offset between Borobudur and the exact 56th interval is 160 meters. Over a distance of several thousand kilometers, that margin of error is smaller than the length of the monument itself. During the last ice age, this region was a single, connected landmass called Sundaland. The islands of Indonesia, Borneo, and Java were joined to the Asian mainland through what is now drowned shelf. A direct land survey between Akyum and Borobudur would have been more practical than today, though still spanning thousands of kilometers of mountainous and tropical terrain. Borobudur encodes the fraction in its own architecture. The central circle of the monument measures 56 yards in circumference. The outer circle measures 176. The same two numbers, the multiplier and the resulting circle, built into the geometry of the monument that sits at the eastern terminus of the system. Counter-arguments are substantial and should be taken seriously. Any system that divides the globe into enough intervals will produce apparent alignments with some subset of ancient sites. The number of known archaeological sites worldwide is in the hundreds of thousands, and selecting only the largest or most famous introduces confirmation bias. The use of Royal Egyptian cubits to measure Stonehenge is unproven. The 22/7 approximation of pi is useful, but not unique. Many fractions approximate pi, and finding multiples of 22 in ancient measurements may reflect the mathematics of circles rather than a deliberate encoding. And longitude measurement in prehistory remains hypothetical. The lunar 18.6-year method is geometrically possible, but has not been demonstrated in the archaeological record to the precision this hypothesis requires. The hypothesis does not claim proof, it claims a pattern. The pattern was first noticed in pieces. John Michel placed Avebury at 4/7 between the equator and pole in the 1960s. The Italian geodesist Livio Staccini documented intervals of 1/7 across major ancient sites. The researcher Howard Crowhurst and the Heath brothers in Britain independently confirmed the same divisions. Further back, in the 1300s, the North African historian Ibn Khaldun wrote that the ancient world was divided into 7 latitudes. The 56 interval synthesis builds on all of this. The latitude placements are verifiable by anyone with a map. The measurements are taken from published archaeological surveys. The mathematical relationships resolve to integers in a way that the modern system does not. And the sites involved are not obscure. They are among the largest, oldest, and most precisely constructed monuments on Earth. This is the second Awakened Epochs episode, examining evidence for a structured ancient world. The first laid the geographic case, 3 locations forming a precise triangle across the Atlantic, with measurements that match known astronomical constants. This episode lays the mathematical case, a division of the globe into 56 intervals that appears encoded in the architecture of Giza, the layout of Stonehenge, the placement of meridians from Manicouagan to Uluru, and the geometry of Borobudur. The sites are where they are. The numbers are what they are. If you want to support deeper research and found this journey as fascinating as we did, subscribe to Awakened Epochs for more.